it's really important that you know how to create a dead man anchor. If you're not familiar with this, you want to look it up ahead of time and practice it ahead of time. This is a way to anchor a tent to snow so that it doesn't blow away. Hopefully it's obvious, but tent stakes don't work in the snow. They melt out. They don't anchor a tent very well. So if you're planning to camp at Lake Helen, you want to get your tent set up for camping on snow. You want to get P-cord or string to tie out to the fly so that you can create dead man anchors and anchor all the sides of your tent down securely in the snow. Tents blow away at Helen all the time because they're not anchored appropriately and the winds crank up there. Just a couple days ago, there were 80-mile-an-hour winds up there. It blew me off my feet. So the winds really can crank up there, and you want to anticipate that and be able to anchor your tents out well. But pictures of the route. This is looking up from Helen, up the upper Avalanche Gulch. Lots of folks climbing in the early morning hours when it's nice and firm. Lots of groups together, so definitely trying to think about what's above you, what's below you. Trying to be courteous and communicate well with other people is key. Here, these folks are climbing on a rope. I'll give you my 2 cents about climbing on the rope. There's no glaciers in Avalanche Gulch. Climbing on a rope primarily protects against a crevasse fall or a slip and fall. And so if you're using the rope in Avalanche Gulch, you're not using it to protect against a crevasse fall because there's no glaciers. And you would primarily be using it to protect against a slip and fall. But if you don't have a scenario where you've got a really strong, experienced climber and then someone who recognizes that and maybe needs some security of a rope, and maybe you just have 2 intermediate climbers, you up the ante, you make it more dangerous for yourselves by being tied to one another. If you're not tied to each other and one person falls, then it's just one person rather than that person falling and yanking on another partner and then 2 people falling. So my recommendation is that you don't use the rope in Avalanche Gulch unless you want to short rope someone, unless you want to give someone some security, which is a guiding technique. You'll see the guide services use the ropes up there because they're short roping clients. And just because the guide services are using a rope doesn't mean that you would want to use a rope necessarily. So think about that. I think it's something that you don't need to bring if you're climbing Avalanche Gulch. Leave the rope at home. Lots of folks up there though, so really thinking about what's above you, not only from a hazard perspective, ice fall, rock fall, but people up there, if they drop a water bottle and it slides 2,000 feet, that thing's coming down just like a rock. So really thinking about there's lots of people up above you, that makes things a little more dangerous, to be honest. But working together, communicating well, and kind of taking it as it comes, always assessing the situation up there. Red Banks is a place where lots of accidents happen. Like I said before, you want to exit out to the right if you're looking for the path of least resistance in the gulch. But many people choose to take the more direct route and scramble through the rocks. It's totally fine, but I think if you go that route, be intentional about it because it's definitely steeper, more consequential terrain, and the rock is loose. Some weird formations that occur in there. Lots of folks glissade through Red Banks. I strongly recommend that you don't glissade through Red Banks because it's really steep. It's easy to go over cliffs and rock, and one little chute in Red Banks looks just like to an adjacent chute, and some of them are different, some of them cliff out. So really be intentional about what you do if you choose to mess with Red Banks there. Some steep sections. It's good to try and climb up the route that you plan to descend. So always kind of mapping it out, looking around and planning how you're going to get out of there. Once you get up out of Red Banks, you're looking at First Hill into the Alpine plateaus, the summit plateaus. And this is kind of the side view there. You can see climbers coming up on First Hill and then Misery Hill up into the summit pyramid. And then here, we talked about the Conwacaton Glacier before. So the skyline of this photo is Avalanche Gulch. It's on the other side of the ridge that we see. And so when folks climb up, it's pretty obvious to navigate, getting up to the summit and then returning, coming back down. Folks can often wander down the Conwacaton Glacier and into Mud Creek Canyon and become totally lost. A lot of accidents happen that way. Here's a picture of what it looks like. The Avalanche Gulch route is down and to the right where you came from. But the fall line, once you're coming off the top, takes you down into Mud Creek and down to the Kanawakaton Glacier, which is complex terrain, steeper terrain than Avalanche Gulch, and you're on a glacier. So again, this is a big reason why it's important to climb with good visibility. You know, when things white out, when you have bad visibility, it's really easy to walk off in the wrong direction on a perfectly cone-shaped mountain. And so a lot of accidents happen this way. Make sure to look around when you're coming out Avalanche Gulch so you can avoid going down the wrong way. And in the summertime, you know, whether there's snow or rock, it often looks really similar all throughout the Alpine.